So, you can't decide which bike to get, the Indian Scout Bobber or the new Indian Chief Darkhorse. Well, I've spent quite a bit of time with both bikes, and in this video, we will be comparing the two to help you decide. First, we'll do a quick side-by-side comparison of the key highlight specs, and then we'll take both bikes to the streets to do some drag racing to see how they perform. My name is Ricky, and if you like this type of content, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and smash that like button. Now let's get into the video. For the purpose of this comparison, we will be talking about the regular Indian Scout Bobber and the Chief Darkhorse, but just know you have different trims to choose from with both bikes. For example, the Chief Darkhorse with the 116 Thunderstroke engine and the 4-inch touchscreen comes in at $16,999. But you also have the standard Chief with the 111 Thunderstroke engine and no touchscreen, which comes in at $14,499. The Indian Scout Bobber with the 69 cubic inch engine comes in at $10,999, and the Indian Scout Bobber 60 comes in at $8,999 with a 61 cubic inch engine. But again, in this video, we will be specifically talking about the regular Indian Scout Bobber and the Chief Darkhorse. First, let's go over the two main differences between the Indian Scout Bobber and the Chief Darkhorse, starting off with the engine. The Indian Scout Bobber comes with a water-cooled engine which produces 72 foot-pounds of torque, which peaks at 5,900 RPM, versus the 116 air-cooled engine on the Chief Darkhorse, which produces 120 foot-pounds of torque, which peaks at 2,900 RPM. But which one is better? Well, that depends on who you ask. Water-cooled engines are known for being capable of generating more power since they run cooler and they do not heat and expand as much, which translates to higher revolutions per minute. So what's the benefit of an air-cooled engine? I got one word for you: torque. Air-cooled engines are some of the torquiest engines out there, and the Thunderstroke isn't the exception. One of the benefits of the air-cooled engine on the Chief is having all that torque available at low RPMs. You just twist the throttle and the power is there. On the other hand, on the Scout's water-cooled engine, you have to be at a higher RPM for the power to really kick in. I find myself shifting down when I want to pass or get away from a sketchy situation on my Scout, but when on the Chief, all I had to do is twist that throttle. But once the Indian Scout Bobber gets going, oh my, you better hold on. There are other things to consider too, like if you live in a hot environment and or are subject to lots of stop and go traffic. Maybe an air-cooled engine is not for you, even though the Chief has the rear cylinder deactivation tech which helps keep the engine cool in these situations. If you are coming from a sport bike background, the transition to an American V-twin engine will be easier on the Scout since it loves to rev high. The other big difference is the frame. The Chief comes with a steel frame versus the multi-part cast aluminum frame on the Indian Scout Bobber, which in theory should be more stable in the curves because there's no flex. But to be honest, I really didn't feel that much of a difference between the two. The steel frame on the Chief allows for more customization, and in my opinion, it just looks so beautiful. Some of the other big differences are in regards to the features, and that's where the Chief Darkhorse really has a clear advantage. First of all, it comes with that 4-inch touchscreen where you have information like navigation, speedometer, tachometer, odometer, fuel gauge, compass, ambient temp, gear indicator, etc. While on the Indian Scout Bobber, you have an analog speedometer, digital tachometer, odometer, trip meter, engine temperature, and low fuel lamp. The Chief Darkhorse also has riding modes, rear cylinder deactivation, and cruise control, which the Indian Scout Bobber doesn't have. At first, I didn't think features like the riding modes and cruise control were such a big deal, but after riding the bike for over a week, I found myself using them a lot more than I thought. Especially that cruise control. It's one of the features I miss the most, especially when going on longer rides. I use the riding modes quite a bit too. Having the ability to change the throttle response was very convenient, especially when riding on dirt roads or flooded bridges. The Chief Darkhorse comes with a 4-gallon gas tank versus the 3.3 gallons on the Indian Scout Bobber. It doesn't seem like much of a difference, but in the real-world application, the extra fuel comes in clutch. I'm 5'7", 5'8" on my best day, and I didn't really feel a big difference when jumping from one bike to the other when it comes to seat height. The Chief has a 26-inch seat height versus the 25.6 inches on the Indian Scout Bobber. The Chief is a little thicker though, so if you're slightly smaller than me, that might be a noticeable difference. In regards to the lean angle, both are very similar. The Chief has a 28.5 degrees lean angle versus the 29 degrees on the Indian Scout Bobber. I really like the low stance and slam look on the Indian Scout Bobber, so lifting it isn't really an option for me. The Chief, on the other hand, I wouldn't mind lifting it up because it fits the look of the bike in my opinion, and that would give you more lean angle. The Indian Scout Bobber weighs in at 553 pounds wet versus the Chief Darkhorse, which weighs in at 670 pounds wet. You can definitely feel the difference at slow speeds. With the Chief, I found myself paying more attention to having the bike balanced when coming to a stop. Once you start going though, they feel very similar. Also, the suspension on the Chief Darkhorse handles bumps a lot better. I'm not sure if that has to do with better suspension or the extra travel you get. The Indian Scout Bobber has a 2-inch rear travel and the Chief has a 3-inch rear travel with adjustable preload. Now let's get into the fun stuff. Before we go out and do some drag racing in Mexico, let me know in the comments which one you think is quicker. The 1/16 Chief Darkhorse, which is completely stock, or the Indian Scout Bobber with a 2-into-1 exhaust, air filter, and tune. Let's see what happens. What's up, what's up? I'm here with my boy John. He's on the 1/16 Indian Chief Darkhorse. I'm on my Indian Scout Bobber 2018 Stage 1. And we're about to compare them, see which one's faster. Is that happening?
Do what?
Is that happening? Or are you like...
No, that's happening. Well, I'm also learning this. So I tried a couple things on that back road. I forget this is a Thunderstroke. I'm relearning Thunderstroke.
Yeah, the sweet spot is between 2,000 and 4,000.
I'm still used to the high RPM.
Yeah, I know. Like quick shift.
So finally, did you see this last one? That one was a good run.
Yeah.
Dude, that last run right there was perfect because I had you. You know, we were neck and neck, and then your RPM was fucking down. That was good. there's no way I'll ever this thing will ever beat you. Maybe with
stage 2
cams and stuff, maybe. You're right. I'm giving it all it's got, and you're just fucking going.
That's insane.
But you know, it's the only time I can keep up with you.
It's on the beginning.
Is if we go from 0. You know what I mean?
That's when bop.
Yeah, and that's the other problem is so much low end torque. If I can get traction, I could probably get the fuck out away from you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know we're up and down on some hills, but real world, I mean, I think that's what we're gonna get at. That was a damn good experience.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Thank you, man.
Dude, but if we were stock to stock, I bet it would be a lot closer.
So, which one should you get? Like I said in my Indian Chief review video, it depends on a few factors. Is this your first bike? Maybe the Indian Scout Bobber is the way to go. It weighs less and it's easier to throw around at slow speeds. But there's a caveat. If you're on the tall side and the Indian Scout Bobber feels too small for you, in that case, maybe you can start off with the 111 Chief, and later down the line, you can build it up to a 116. Another thing to consider is the type of riding you'll be mostly doing. Are you gonna be going on long trips? I would 100% recommend going with the Chief. Cruise control, better suspension, and a bigger gas tank will make your trips a lot more enjoyable. If you're mostly going to be ripping around town and the occasional long trip, maybe the Indian Scout Bobber is the one for you. There's really no wrong choice here. Both bikes are amazing. It all depends which one better fits your needs. If I had to do it again, I think I would still go with the Indian Scout Bobber based on the looks and because I know I'll be owning more than one bike. If I knew I can only have one bike, maybe I'll go with the Chief since it's a jack of all trades. It's small enough to rip around town, plus it has all these features that would make my long distance trips a lot more comfortable. I hope this video helped you out in your decision, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe and smash that like button. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.